I was really suspending disbelief, I was into it, and I was really on board with this film until they decided that candy, that product placement, was going to be the key to resolving the entire f***ing thing. Hi y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here. As some of you might have seen, I was in fact invited to a red carpet / premiere of Shazam 2 Fury of the Gods in Miami. However, I am not letting that affect this review. At the end of the day, I value my integrity as a reviewer over internet clout at any time. So don't worry, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the full rundown. I ended up doing a short out of the theater review in my last video if you guys want to check that out, but this video is going to have both a non-spoiler and spoiler section so we can really dive deep down into what exactly I liked and didn't like about Shazam 2. But first, a word from our sponsors. Okay, testing. It's about lunchtime. When it comes to the days that I make content, I don't always have time to step out and pick something up. And worse than that, I don't know how to cook. And that's where Factor 75 comes in. Factor 75 is my go-to lunch solution. With a fridge full of meals from Factor 75, the guesswork and wait time for lunch is pretty much gone. These are protein-packed, fantastic choices to keep you satisfied all day long. They've got tons of tasty options to fit pretty much any diet. With foods from Factor 75, my meal is gonna be ready in about 2 minutes. It's cheaper than takeout and way faster than delivery, so I can put my time into doing what I'm passionate about, making content. It's that easy. It took 2 minutes, and now I'm ready to sit down and enjoy. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code SNARKYJ50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. For the non-spoiler part of my review, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my rating, which still stands at a 6 out of 10. The movie honestly was entertaining enough. It felt on par with some of Marvel's releases. It had sort of great value Guardians of the Galaxy energy. I could tell that they were going for Deadpool, but they really couldn't go all the way with it. Maybe they didn't have the writers, maybe they were afraid of the rating. But it definitely felt more along the lines of a Marvel release, which isn't entirely out of the ordinary. I felt the first Shazam kind of felt the same way. In terms of lightheartedness, I definitely feel that this film is on par with the first one, though I have to say I actually liked Shazam 2 considerably better than I liked Shazam 1. Unfortunately, and this is also in line with the first Shazam, the jokes don't always land. There are some parts in the script that are honestly just sort of cringeworthy. There are some things that are meant to be funny that just come across as annoying. It's not even the fault of the actors, it's honestly just issues with the script, and I think that this persists from Shazam 1 over into Shazam 2. There's quite a few things that really bothered me about this film, but I'll go ahead and get into those later. I can acknowledge that they tried to throw in some twists and make the movie feel fresh and not like it's tied into the standard superhero film formula, but honestly, it never quite gets away from that feeling. The movie is for the most part really predictable, and there are some moments that honestly just don't feel like they belong where they were placed. They were kind of cringeworthy, really predictable, and just didn't really work. The film does a pretty good job of showing a number of different effects. They have some really cool CGI, some cool creatures, some interesting characters, and there's also some pretty consistently good CGI in terms of the fights. Of course, there's a couple of different moments that I was able to sort of pinpoint that looked weird, but they actually even have one character that has some sort of Doctor Strange / Inception looking effects, which I thought they actually did a fantastic job of accomplishing, so that was actually really cool. In terms of the effects, I have very few complaints, if any. As far as performances go, I have to say that the performances in the film are actually consistently good. I feel Zachary Levi, even though he's playing a character that I don't find particularly compelling, he's charming and actually does a really great job at playing Billy Batson, and I'm not just saying that because I found him so dreamy on the red carpet. I did, but I actually think he did a great job in this movie. Another highlight for me in this film is actually Zachary Levi's chemistry with Jack Dylan Grazer. He plays Freddie Freeman, and I thought he was adorable as a kid in the It films, and he actually brings a similar charm and a fun energy to the role of Freddie Freeman. Of course, the two biggest scene stealers for me were Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. I am a huge fan of Helen Mirren, and who doesn't love Lucy Liu? They did an absolutely fantastic job as the goddesses Calypso and Hespera. Unfortunately, I think they were underutilized, and even more unfortunate still, the script doesn't always give them lines that should be uttered by ancient goddesses. It just felt weak at times. Unfortunately, the entire script is actually plagued by this very high school feeling, and I get that that's the point of some of the heroes like Billy Batson and his entire family. They're all kids in adult bodies, but it comes across a little bit annoying at times. And again, that's not anybody else's fault, but I feel that Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu should have been completely free of that sin, and unfortunately that same feeling in the script kind of is pervasive to every other character. For me, this film actually starts to fall apart in the third act. There's actually a period of about 30 minutes that to me felt interminable. I was sitting there squirming, really uncomfortable. Granted, I was wearing Wonder Woman armor in a theater seat, but that's not the point. The point is that this period of about 30 minutes just felt like it was never going to end. With all that being said, I kind of want to pick apart certain parts of the film that I think are really worth delving into. From this point on, there will be spoilers for Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods. You've been warned. The plot is basic enough. It follows Billy Batson as he's contending with a few different things. On the more human side, he's about to turn 18, which means that he's probably gonna have to leave his group home. That's causing him no small amount of attachment anxiety. And on the other hand, he's dealing with the consequences of his actions from the first film. He actually broke the magic staff that gave him and all his friends powers, and now of course we've got some evil ancient goddesses coming to take it back and pretty much take over the world, sort of. As I said previously, the goddesses Hespera and Calypso are played by Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and they do a really good job with what they're given. Unfortunately, what they're given is just not that good. I was obsessed with the armor, but that was just not enough to detract from what they were given in the script, which sometimes just felt juvenile. It gets even worse when we're introduced to the character of Anne, who's played by Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler does her best, but I don't think she ever really figures out exactly what her character should sound and behave like. She's initially introduced to us as Anne and is a love interest for Jack Dylan Grazer's character of Freddie Freeman. Of course, Anne turns out to be Anthea, the third sister to Calypso and Hespera. Though we figure out Anthea's game fairly quickly, we are, however, forced to deal with a lot of some weird chemistry between her and Jack Dylan Grazer. It honestly feels a little bit creepy that an ancient 1,000-year-old goddess is hitting on like a 16-year-old boy. A little bit uncomfortable. And worse still, I feel like the chemistry between these two people is about as good as oil and water. Most of the moments between them felt sort of cringeworthy and ill-timed. I don't think that they ever came at a moment where I was like, yeah, this should be happening. The whole boss fight type format honestly feels really tiresome in this movie. I mean, it goes with the superhero formula that we all know there's gonna be a series of small battles and then eventually there's gonna be like one big one. But it honestly just drags on for too long because we already know it's gonna end well. These superhero flicks always end with the good guys winning, so it honestly just feels like it goes on for way too long. For me, I was sort of on board with this movie until this one really big plot point that actually took me out of it completely. I was really suspending disbelief, I was into it, and I was really on board with this film until they decided that candy, that product placement, was going to be the key to resolving the entire f***ing thing. Throughout the whole movie, these kids are eating Skittles. They're either holding Skittles, or they're munching on Skittles, or Skittles are in the background, or there's a pack of Skittles in somebody's hand. Somebody's always got f***ing Skittles in this movie. And I was like, alright, you know what? We all need to make our cash. We all need product placement. I'm putting sponsors in my videos. We all need to make our coins. So I'm not gonna dog anybody for having product placement in a movie. But then we get near the end, and there's this whole sequence where they discover that the only way to fight off like these other monsters is to tame a unicorn. But this unicorn shows up, and it of course is like really angry, you know, because everything just shows up pissed off in this movie. And they've already discussed that one of the only things unicorns like is ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. So Darla, who I think is adorable, pulls out a handful of Skittles and feeds them to this unicorn. And by feeds them, I mean she throws them at this unicorn. And as the unicorn is eating them off the floor, the script goes as far as to shamelessly have this character whisper, taste the rainbow. So it's not enough that they're literally using Skittles as a plot point, like as a solution in this film, but they also have to throw the slogan at us? Come on, I'm sorry. It took me out. It was just such a blatant sellout for product placement that it literally took me out of the gravitas of the movie. And of course, that moment is actually part of that interminable half hour that I mentioned, which includes dragon fights and staff juggling and punching into buildings and big monsters running in the street. Honestly, to me, it feels like all those battles could have been shaved in half had they not been trying to build up to a moment where they get to sell us Skittles. And for your information, I left the theater wanting Skittles and I have not purchased any just because of how annoying that was. Of course, one of the biggest surprises in this film is that they actually killed off Billy Batson. They buried him. It was really intense, and I was honestly shocked and impressed by DC to make such a bold move, because nobody ever wants to kill off their heroes, right? I mean, they've got to sell action figures. And then the wizard Shazam says, "Only the power of a god can resurrect another god." And I knew. Of course, my girl Gal Gadot returns as Wonder Woman, which I was really happy to see her because I love her. But I don't know, it just felt sort of cheap to have her come and resurrect him that easily. She let this entire battle go on. She was obviously aware that it was happening. She let this guy be killed. She let this whole city be destroyed pretty much. But she shows up just to resurrect him? Bitch, you have a lasso and a sword. Come and help somebody out. To me, in the grand scheme of things, it just felt too convenient. We also have this weird stuff of Billy Batson being obsessed with her, which, to be honest, who wouldn't be? But he keeps hitting on her, and they make more jokes about him and Freddie liking older women, which if it went the other way around, it would be really creepy, so I still find it a little bit unsettling. I did mention that I went to watch the movie at a premiere and I wore my Wonder Woman armor, so seeing her on the big screen in her armor while I was in mine felt amazing, and as I was walking out, I got mad stares and people asked for pictures, and it was honestly a lot of fun as somebody who obviously thrives on attention. But I still think the movie would have been way more impactful had they just let Billy Batson lie. So besides the predictable script and the weak jokes and everything else that I mentioned, those were my major gripes with this film. But again, I actually really thought some of it was cute. I thought some of the family moments were sort of heartwarming. I think Zachary Levi does an incredible job as Billy Batson, and I honestly love Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu getting to play big superhero villains. Look, I genuinely think that this is worth a watch. Is it life-changing? No. Is it one of the better superhero films I've ever seen? No. Is it incredible cinema? No. But it's Shazam, and sometimes I think that might be all you need. That's all I've got to say on that one. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code SNARKYJ50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. And that's all from me. I've been Snarky J. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods in the comments below.